Hi, this is John Rowell for the Rowell Report. Today is Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for joining me at this channel. And just to let you know that I have changed recording locations for these videos, and so the background is different, and this took a couple of days to get things moved, and I appreciate your patience during this time while I was getting set up in this new location. Anyway, I hope during that time you're doing well, and the snowstorm didn't impact you too much. So, getting on to the point of today's video, President Trump said that he spoke with Prime Minister Modi of India, and who assured him that India would stop purchasing Russian oil. Strangely enough, we had that almost verbatim comment from President Trump back in October 15th, and I believe again in December. So something is happening every 2 months where President Trump comes out with this announcement that India will stop purchasing Russian oil. And it's such a big announcement, and all his um, the White House staff are so happy and joyful, and it turns out to be really not much more than talk. So, is this real this time? Has Modi really decided that he doesn't need cheap Russian oil and he can start getting oil from the United States or even Venezuela? So, this seems to be quite odd. Anyway, so you have here on the screen the CNBC article about Trump saying Modi would no longer be getting Russian oil. And so I'll leave the links below in the description box. And so, anyway, then we had the announcement from India that India plans to continue buying Russian oil despite sanctions. So this was after the United States had decided to sanction the two Russian oil companies, um, Rosneft and is it Lukoil and Rosneft? So anyway, India first did not decide to stop buying Russian oil back in October, and then when the United States decided to kick up the ante a little bit with with their sanctions, thinking that that would push India over the line, it did not push India over the line. Then India and the European Union have created this trade deal with which India would be providing the European Union with petroleum products. So India would be taking this cheap Russian oil and then turning around and selling those products to the European Union. So that means that they would be, the most competitive company selling to the European Union because they would be getting it cheap. And despite moving the oil from Russia to India, then India to the European Union, that this would still be a better deal than getting oil from the United States. So Secretary Scott Bessent criticized this deal, saying that Europe is fighting against itself because it's providing income to Russia to fight the war in Ukraine, when it should be trying to stop that war. So anyway, at least to not fund it. So anyway, then that was another addition to this whole scenario. So here's a little bit about the India-European Union trade deal. They state that this trade deal would result in roughly a quarter of global GDP. So certainly huge possibilities. And as you see, India continues to diversify its exports. It can no longer solely depend on the United States and China. It needs to diversify and find other sources of exports so that it doesn't have all its eggs in one basket, especially with the United States, with the way things have been going. So we have um, more information about the India US relationship. And here in the Hindu, an official stated that the India US relationship is multi layered, involving. Let's see if I can get rid of this. Anyway, sorry about that. So, the India US relationship is multi layered, involving trade worth more than 200 billion and the presence of a large Indian diaspora in the US. The immigration policy of the Trump administration has received global attention this week. Okay, and stating that in Minnesota, there's a large Indian diaspora consisting of students, professionals, and others. So India is kind of, um, I wouldn't say walking on thin ice, but trying to tread this relationship very carefully. And so certainly there's not only the huge exports from India to the United States, it's also the Indian people who live in the United States and their migratory status. And of course, they work in India and then send money back to their country. So that's another source of income and tax income for India. So um, India can't just go cold turkey and say, look, we're tired of President Trump misquoting Prime Minister Modi. We need to be careful about that. So, um, anyway, here we have the already quoted or already mentioned um, True Social post from President Donald Trump, and it says it was an honor to speak with Prime Minister Modi of India this morning. He is one of my greatest friends. Blah, blah, blah. We spoke about many things, including trade and ending the war with Russia and Ukraine. He agreed to stop buying Russian oil and to buy much more from the United States and potentially Venezuela. So we have that comment from President Trump. And then we have a comment on X from Prime Minister Modi. You can see he's not on True Social. So wonderful to speak with my dear friend President Trump today. Delighted that made in India products will now have a reduced tariff of 18%, I guess from 25%. Big thanks to President Trump on behalf of the 1.4 billion people of India. So the tariff on goods that are made in India was reduced about 7%, not a world shattering amount. Of course, everything helps, but Prime Minister Modi here does not state about anything about the Russia Ukraine war. He doesn't speak about stopping the purchases of Russian oil. So you can see that the two posts are quite different. And then when you take this article from the Hindustan Times and what we know about the conversation between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, and here we have Trump claims, Trump claims, Trump claims. And so the last Trump claim, India will stop buying Russian oil and shift purchases to US and possibly Venezuela. So there is no, as of yet, confirmation within India that this actually was a promise made by Prime Minister Modi. And we have this, but the Western media has been putting out this narrative that Prime Minister Modi did agree to stop buying Russian oil. In fact, CNN simply states Modi agrees to stop buying Russian oil, and not Trump claims Modi agrees to stop buying Russian oil. So this narrative is circulating around on most Western media and just parroting the comment from President Trump. And um, finally, we have India. This video from ABC News Australia. India to lead new BRICS payment system to rival SWIFT and challenge US dollar. So anyway, let's just say India was going to lead the new BRICS payment system. So you've so you're a country that suddenly changes your loyalty from Russia to the United States in the purchase of oil, and you're going to be leading BRICS, which includes Russia, into the promised land with a new BRICS payment system. So this makes little sense that India would want to muddy the waters as far as who are they really looking to deal with. And if you think about it, um, India signed this agreement with the European Union to provide them with petroleum products. So if India buys oil from the United States and this heavy crude from Venezuela, this is going to be much more costly for the European Union than if they got oil directly from the United States. So this makes very little sense. Anyway, it's interesting how President Trump, with his expectations and his way of kind of bullying other nations to, in a way, force them to accept a situation which they did not originally intend to accept. So, but in the past, India has shown itself to be quite resilient to President Trump's pressure, and I believe that this will be the case this time again. So, anyway, just to let you know, I'm going to put the link to all this information in the description box below. And so, look forward to seeing more videos. I would believe earlier in the morning, when I will be putting those out. So, um, any other channel news? Well, I think I want to again thank all of you subscribers for joining me, and I want to wish everyone a wonderful day. And you're also welcome to leave your comments below if you feel like it. So anyway, thanks again for joining me. Take care. Bye bye.